In the past, I always believed I had magnetic personality. Despite that, not a single girl was attracted towards me for years in India. Lately, I read a medical research report stating 30% of girls in India are suffering from anemia. And only then I understood, because all these years, these girls were suffering from anemia, a disease caused due to deficiency of iron. They are not attracted towards magnetic personality. Morning, fellow Toastmasters, dear guest. Humor or joke has this ability to attract the audience during speeches and presentation. And even during my journey of Toastmasters, I realized that when I have humor, joke in my speeches, people are able to assimilate my message far better. They are able to understand as well as keep it for a longer duration in their memories. Now, humor has two parts. Number one, joke creation. And second is delivery. In this workshop, I will be focusing on the first part, the joke creation part. And in the next 45 minutes, the target is really simple. Each one of you who is attending this workshop has to create an original joke. So let's start. If you look at any joke, it has two parts, a setup and a punchline. Now, a setup is something that you create at the beginning, that act as the initial ingredient for your joke, and the punchline that brings the laughter. Bring an analogy from the kitchen. I can say that setup is something where you cut the vegetable, bring all the ingredients together, and a punchline is the delicious dish that you enjoy at the end. Let's try to understand this with my initial joke. So in my initial joke, the setup was magnetic personality. And the punchline referred to anemic girls are not attracted towards magnetic personality. Now, if you look at it, it is all planned. There is nothing which says that I am a born comedian or I can make jokes on the fly. So it's being planned so that it brings laughter at the end. Now, if we go one level deeper into it, there are three major components to it. The first one is assumption, second one is connector, and the third one is reinterpretation. Now, just try to understand this. It's the mechanics that is far more important in creating jokes. Because for me, jokes are roller coaster rides. First, you have to take your audience up in the sky. And when they come down, the real fun starts. So you have to prepare in a way that they can go up, up, up with your assumption, with your connector, and then comes the punchline. The assumption part is where you want to implant an idea in the mind of the audience. These can be the initial words, these can be expressions, these can be also a phrase. And just to understand, assumption are the facts that the audience already know. So can anyone share or tell me, when I told you what does magnetic personality means? So I can already see people are saying charisma, attractive. When I talk about magnetic personality, it automatically comes to the fact that it is about handsome personality, good looking, dynamic. I have not told anything else apart from this statement. So this is the assumption I want to build in the mind of the audience. Next come the connector. Connector is a bridge between assumption and reinterpretation. So assume connector as a keyword in your joke. It is a word with dual meaning that is specifically planned to make sure that the assumption goes in one direction and the interpretation in another. And the interpretation at the end says it breaks your initial assumption. So if you look at my joke entirely, I initially told you the magnetic personality, then I moved on to anemic behavior, and then I bring together that magnetic personality and the anemic behavior of the girls. Let's try to understand this simple phenomena with another example. And when I say another example, it's also important to learn from others. So I give you a simple statement, maybe in the chat. Can anyone tell me what comes to their mind when I give you simple statement like, my wife is an excellent housekeeper? This is your setup. My wife is an excellent housekeeper. Right? So some says sexy, bored housewife, cooking, cleaning, stereotyping. Great. So with this single statement, I already created an assumption in the mind of the audience. Now, let's look at how the joke is. My wife is an excellent housekeeper. After divorce, she kept the house. So in the example which I have given you, many people have told that when I give the initial setup, they already know that my wife is caring, loving, good housekeeper. And the punchline was, after divorce, she kept the house. Now, if you look at the connector, it's being placed very consciously with the fact that I use the same house and keep as a word in my punchline. So if I would have told you after divorce, she took away all the property, it might not have sound funny. In this example, initially the wife looked something like this with the setup, and that's the reinterpretation. Now, if I give you one more setup, which says my wife ran away with my best friend, what comes to your mind? Anyone? Maybe in the chat. So now the assumption is she is having an affair. I'm an angry husband. My wife betrayed me. Based on your background, you will have an assumption. Now, this joke can go in multiple directions. So, for example, my wife ran away with my best friend. Party time! That could be one way of presenting the joke. The other could be, my wife ran away with my best friend. Now I miss both the bitches. So if you see, I have the same setup, but I varied it based on the changing punchline. And it's extremely important to try this with different variations. And as I told you, these last few examples I just picked up from internet just to showcase you that there is already an existing joke that you can analyze to create your own. but I also want to put across some of the jokes from the past workshops that participants have created. So one of the joke is, I went to a Toastmasters meeting, it was too dry. Cheers. I will take a 2-minute pause here for any questions. You can put in the chat window, and we will try to see what can be answered in the given time. So if any questions you have, please feel free to. Okay, so one question that is being asked is, what are the various references I can use apart from this workshop? So for me, I really loved reading joke books, but one of my favorite is Joke Bible. And one of my favorite course online available is from Greg Dean, which I really enjoyed. I also tried Steve Martin course on humor writing, but I enjoyed Greg Dean's course more.
Question: if you have a YouTube channel, or you can recommend any good YouTube channels, can something say to that?
Yeah, sure. So for the YouTube channel, I do have a YouTube channel, but I put agile related videos there, which are based on my personal experience in agile framework. But if you look at any stand-up comedian, the more I get from there is the delivery part. And as I said, if you want to first learn the art of writing, you can actually look at some specific courses that are available on Coursera or in edX, or also in Udemy. That are quite good, and I tried multiple of them, because most of the people try to follow the delivery part without understanding the joke writing at the first. So if you have a good content, then the delivery part you can also learn during your Toastmasters meeting. Okay, so now if you look at the topic selection, that is the initial phase of joke creation. You need to write down your observations. So things around you can pick out, and they can be a really good source of creating jokes. Your bad experiences. So you asked about wife, and most of the time people crack jokes when they have bad experiences in their marriages. Yeah, but you can also crack jokes even when you don't have a bad experience. Also try to bring your knowledge from professional life. So if you are working in a specific industry, it's always good to bring that joke inside a normal setup which people can understand. So for example, the joke that I brought in of anemic girls is completely unrelated, but I could bring it in, making it much simpler for audience to understand. And the final one is, try to see if you can relate that topic to the audience. So if you, in a Toastmasters meeting, if you bring a really complex topic of nuclear reactor, people might not be able to understand it. Best quote I could find in this topic selection is, the secret source of humor is not joy, but sorrow, because there is no humor in heaven. Now, once you select a topic, so for example, I take a topic as simple as car. I need to create association list. Again, when I said initially, we need to understand the mechanics, and then the jokes comes in. So first the hard work need to be put in, and then the real fun start. What I mean by association list is, you need to write down the objects that you think are associated with that topic. So for example, if I give you a topic called car, what are the various things that you can think about? Anyone? Maybe Kevin also, you can try. What are the various items that you can think when you say a word car?
I can think of a seat of a car. I can think of a crash. I can think of
Great,
my own car.
great. So when you take a topic, just create association lists. So for example, you can think of seat belts, traffic, mechanics, brakes, headlights, tickets, insurance. There can be another topic called marriage. Just think of the association list items. Once you have the association list items, try to create a positive and a negative statement for each one of them. For example, for traffic, I can say traffic problems can be solved, and the negative could be traffic problems cannot be solved. Or mechanics are honest and mechanics are dishonest. As simple as that. And I call them punch statement and setup statement. This gives you idea how to create jokes. And here, don't try to be funny. So just to give you an example, I took the first example as traffic problems can be solved and traffic problem cannot be solved to a joke. Sometimes in life, we are helpless. For instance, traffic jam is prevalent across the world. But when it happens in Germany, it's because of huge number of cars. But in India, because of huge number of people. Even each one of us knows the root cause of the problem. We are helpless because Germans will not stop producing cars and we Indians, babies. So if you look at it, the initial idea of bringing this joke came from the statements that I have put together in my slides, which means that you have to bring that focus in place just to make sure that you have a joke in place. And then I also try to create humor on marriages, on bride, on food, but then that's the mechanics. Now, moving on to the next one, and the most important one. When you are creating your jokes, people doesn't laugh. What happened? That's a usual question that is being asked many times to me during my workshop. So let me tell you one simple thing, and that is 90% of jokes fail. So even when I crack a joke, which is widely accepted earlier, might not work today. So you should not feel bad about it, but you should also try to understand that why it failed. So if you look at a joke pattern, it will always go from good to bad or bad to worse situation. So you will never find a joke which goes the other way around, where you are looking at a really bad situation and come up to a good one and you laugh at it. So you can laugh and smile at a falling man, but not somebody who is climbing up. So as Bill Sennington said, humor is what happens when something goes wrong. So that need to be understood. So even when you are trying to create your own joke, just try to understand this. I want all of you to take 5 minutes, and maybe here the Zoom master can come in. Zoom master, can you send the instruction document to all the participants? So for the 5 minutes, you will be in a group of 3. You have to pick up a topic of your choice. Create association list. Association list are the items that I mentioned related to your topic. Write positive and negative statements, and then try to build a joke around it. And remember, a joke goes from good to bad and bad to worse. And also try to test that joke within that group of 3. And once you are back, we will ask few groups to perform it as well. So Zoom Master, you can go ahead and send the participants in the breakout. Okay, so welcome back, all of you. I hope you had fun with this small exercise. So now we get into the actual part of joke. So I'm sure some of you have already prepared a joke in your group. So who want to present their joke in the front of the audience? It's a chance for you. Please raise your hand and then you can unmute and do it. Anyone?
There are
Yeah,
two,
John,
Alex.
go ahead.
Two, yeah.
Yeah, John, go ahead, please.
We were from Norway, from Holland, from England, and we realized that travel is a hair-raising adventure, which Keys agreed with, but Jim wasn't sure. Most jokes fail.
Okay, good attempt. Anyone else from the group who want to present? So just mention your title, your association list, and the joke at the end. And people who are a bit shy can put their jokes in the chat as well.
Alexander Olsen has raised her hand.
Yeah, please go ahead.
We all, I would say, we all know somebody who can talk. Yes, they can open their mouth, but they will not say more than absolute necessary amount of words, like sun shining or whatever. Just not giving more information than that. And here it's often the men who are like that. I know women like that too, but more often the men who do that. My husband, he doesn't say more than absolutely necessary. I have to pull every word out of it. So take him, for example. Please take him.
Okay, thank you very much.
Nice.
Thank you. So for other teams, I recommend if you can just put your jokes that you have created just now in the group in the chat window so that other people can laugh and smile at it. So one of the questions that I have seen in the chat window is, does the joke structure works for shorter format and a bigger format similar? And the answer is yes. So once you are able to create one-liner or two-liner, you just need to elaborate it to a story to a bigger format, and that remains the same. So just to summarize what we have discussed, we have always a setup and a punchline, and they are always being supported by an assumption, connector, reinterpretation. Assumptions are something that you implant in the mind of the audience, an idea, a thought with your initial words. Connector act as a bridge between assumption and reinterpretation. So a connector need to be a word that has dual meaning, an expression which can be ambiguous, and reinterpretation is that shatters the initial assumption, and that's where the laughter happens. And the process to do is to choose, you should choose a topic. Now choosing a topic make you really focus. Then you create association list, which means creating objects that are related to that topic, so you get deep into it. Then write a positive statement and a negative statement for each of the association list item. And then the jokes come. Now, everything is a journey. So what's the next step after you go home or relax or after you attend one more workshop and this conference ends today? The next steps could be you should watch humorists you like closely. So it need not have to be a big comedian. Whoever you like, maybe in your Toastmasters meeting, just watch them, how they build the setup and the punchline. Try to spot it. keep experimenting with your punchline. So for instance, the joke that I have told you regarding traffic lights, traffic and India and German, I tried also the other version of it in this fashion. Life works on demand and supply. When demand is more, the item value decreases. For instance, in a usual Toastmasters meeting, which happens twice a month, unlike this conference, which happens once a year, in a Toastmasters meeting, we fall short of people, but in a conference, we fall short of places. Another example could be when I cross the road in Germany, people stop the car. Unlike India, where the driver will shout and honk at me. The reason? Germans produce more car than the world need, and Indians more people. So you see, I changed the entire setup and the punchline with the same initial topic that I had. And the most important, think differently like a kid. Some of you might think that I made a mistake in writing think, but that was intentional. Now, one day a teacher gave a class to picture and draw house, grass, and sky. And during that time, Emily gave the answer sheet back, to which the teacher put a big cross stating, you have not listened to the instruction. The grass is green and the sky is blue. To which Emily said, ma'am, when I woke up today, the sky was red and purple and grass was not looking green to me. So try to see world from different dimension, and that's where you will find jokes and humor, initial setups. And then you have to take the mechanics to the next level. Now, I also understood during this journey that the world is moving to more virtual setups, and I also face problems with technical engagements with kids running around. So I'm having one more workshop within Toastmasters on 11th of July. So if you plan to join that, feel free to give your email ID in the feedback form, which I will put across. So you can either click the picture and it goes to a Google form where you can give the feedback for this workshop. And Zoom Master, you can put this link, which I have given you in the chat window, so that people can give their feedback for this workshop. That will also enables me to improve on, and also what topics they want to listen to. And you can contact me on my email ID, or you can follow me on YouTube, where I run a small YouTube channel.